Welcome to the Spotlight Series. I'm your host, Scott and Ernie. We're live at the Queeset Inn. It's Tuesday night. Here we have Joe from G-Force Line Painting and Asphalt and Parking Lots, and we're going to hear a lot about that, so I'm very excited. Welcome to the Spotlight Series.
Thanks for having me, Scott. Indiana.
Give us a little background of yourself.
Grew up in Rhode Island. Went to local, schools. Joined the military. Been in a few branches. Graduated college, somewhere in between that. And, I decided to jump into the franchise world with a veteran-owned and operated franchise. It's been a good role. I'm a father. I got an 8-year-old daughter.
Nice. Not in the business yet.
Not yet. I've gotten around a striper machine, but yeah, a few more years maybe.
Tell us a little bit about the business itself.
Pretty cool stuff. You find a lot of line stripers and seal coaters out there, but we have a slogan called "Hire a Vet," which is sort of like hire military, right? It puts us in a little bit different of a category. So we do line striping, whether it's a restriping a parking lot which already has lines down, or it's sort of an empty canvas where we're out there measuring and getting those lines straight to create that parking stall.
Do you find some of the older lots, when you seal coat them and the lines aren't there anymore, do you find that your technology allows you to do a better design than what was 25 years ago that just kept getting painted?
It's a great question.
It is a great question.
We call them ghosts. When you seal coat it, you can sort of see that line there, but you really don't want to use sealer as a blackout. You'd really generally just restripe that as the ghost appears. And if the customer wanted to do something different, we know what to do, and it would just be putting some black latex paint over those stripes, whether white or yellow. And that way, when the sealer fades off, because it is just a thin coat and it will fade off, you don't have two lines there appearing.
So when you see a parking lot, let's say it was typical business around here, the lot has probably been poured 20, 30 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And there's tons of those little black lines where people have tried to fill in the cracks that are starting. How long does that usually last before someone like yourselves needs to come in?
It's another great question. I think that depends on the client or the customer and how well they've taken care of the pavement. Have they seal coated every few years? Because if they do, their initial investment on that pavement will last much longer. And there's signs that pavement's starting to deteriorate, and we call it alligator cracking in the field. You see a bunch of small little cracks that are all sort of looking like the back of an alligator, right? The subbase of the pavement starting to give away, and that's when they either need to repair that, or depending on how much alligator cracking there is, they might need to repave that lot, that driveway, whatever it is. It's what I love to do. I'm passionate about it. Never considered myself an artist until I got into the business and I started painting lines and, making mistakes, learning how to fix them, and slowing down and starting to enjoy the whole process of showing up, breaking down, cleaning it up.
And some of these, it's not just lines, it's handicap signs, it's numbers for some of the offices
Sure.
you work with, maybe names on some of them for buildings.
Yeah, you see the reserve sign, the stencils, the handicaps have different regulations from state to state. So currently, I'm Rhode Island, all of Connecticut, and I move up to about the Boston area in Massachusetts, and then another G-Force location would step in and handle that. But yeah, we get calls from just about everything, right? There's a problem, we can solve it, whether it's an ADA or just they need to just work on that curb appeal, freshen things up a bit. Yeah.
And I know you do a lot of commercial business, but just touch for a moment, you do some multifamily work.
Sure.
Residential, touch a little bit about how you help people there as well.
Great. So you think about maybe someone that you've gone to visit and there's no lines there. Well, if you have a visitor parking area, right, that could be helpful. That's a stencil that we carry. And I always just carry the alphabet in 1 and 2 foot letters, so I can, whether it's a loading zone that's in higher or lower. You said residential, so you know sometimes tenants aren't so great to each other, so having designated places to park is helpful, whether they want to put 1 and 1 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 3 for the different levels. But sometimes just having some lines, people like to just park in the same area, so that's a problem. We can solve that with paint as well.
And people really must look at when they pull into a business, that's the first impression they're seeing. After the GPS got them there, if they'd never been there before, that parking lot, and whether they were, it looks fresh, it looks clean, there's nice white lines. Speak a little bit about what the businesses are telling you that representation of theirs is first impression.
Sure. And all the things that I talk about, line striping, the seal coat and the crack filling also, work into play. But if I go out to a restaurant, first place I'm going to generally end up is the bathroom, and I'm going to sort of gauge the place on how that looks. Same thing when you pull into a parking lot, right? That's your first impression. So it can be pretty frustrating, I think, for customers. I speak as a customer myself. When I pull into a lot and there's no lines, it can get a little chaotic. And I think we have enough chaos in this world today. And we're worried about, where we're parking or how we're parking,
Talk a little bit about, a lot of people worry about a company that's coming out and the reputation, and they stand behind the work. And you mentioned the veteran business. Talk a little bit about the strength that you feel that brings.
You have a lot of great questions. I think the strength for us is we answer our phone, right? Before, during, or after the job, which I think speaks highly, right? Because it's not like some gypsies coming in and leaving, right? We're going to answer our phone for whatever it is that you need. But the support from corporate office, G-Force is a franchise. So a man named Jack Childs, he doesn't like to be in the spotlight, but he really created something special for those in military uniform looking to transition out. And I think what separates us from every other line striper, every other seal coater, every other crack filler is the fact that they're hiring and supporting the military when they hire us. We do a great job. And I think excellence is just part of who we are. I'm going to sleep much better at night knowing that I spent that extra half hour or day or week on that project to make it right for you, your family member, right? Because it's not just a client. That's somebody's father, mother, cousin, sister, brother, sort of thing. So we treat people as they should be treated.
And there's a big difference between calling company Z and saying, oh, I need a price. They go on Google Maps. They kind of look at it and say, yeah, this is a map. I see the size of it, and I'll just quote a price. You actually talk a little bit about how you go from the phone rings to when you're doing a quote and taking the job.
Yeah, it's going to happen. I'm going to get beat out by quotes. But I generally don't, no, you don't want to go with this guy. Sometimes when you do go with the lowest bidder, you don't know what you're going to get, right? But I think competition is good. I look forward to competition, and I see it as an opportunity to bring more value to the table, whether it's, hey, you got to be more excellent at your job, and service. I think that those are things that will, separate, say, myself from someone else, whether the price is the same or not.
And you actually go out to the business, you look at the surface that you're going to be talking about, you give them some ideas as to how you can improve the property as well.
Yeah, so it's going to depend on what it is they need, right? So line striping I can generally see from bird's eye. We have some really cool, AI technology out there that I pay for past just your normal Google Earth. But I never just look at one thing, just Google Earth, because I don't know if it's at 2 or 3 or 4 years old. And there's certainly times where, especially if it's close by, just being local, I'm going to drive by and take a look. I also think by doing that, you get to shake hands with people, and they get to see who it is that you are, right? This guy seems clean cut, or an honest guy, and I think the relationship starts there. It's not just about doing parking lots, right? It is about building relationships. People want to know that they're supporting something, good, and there's value there all around.
Absolutely. So in addition to the advertising you do in Rhode Island Wave, let's give people some information about how they can reach out to your office.
If you Google right now parking lot striping in Rhode Island, I'd hope to think I'm sort of towards the top.
Sure.
And reviews, I'm working on 100 reviews this year, 5-star, and every single review is tough. But you know, we're on Google. You know, that's kind of our big things. I do mailers, but you know, Joe, I'm at 402-9105 by phone. But if they just Google parking lot striping, they'll come across my website, and it's G-Force.
G stands for?
The God Force. It's another great question.
I try.
That's really good. I got to talk to Jack about it. He's one of those. I wonder if they spell something out. He is an amazing man, and he has a lot of answers, and that amaze me still to this day. But every little bit, even the plane on the trucks that are wrapped, there's a story behind our wraps that we have on our trucks, which match the business cards, and you know, there's reasons behind it, which is really why I joined a franchise, because I've never owned a business. So I know how to left, right, left when you call the cadence.
Sure.
So that's kind of where G-Force Corporate comes in. They're calling out some of these steps that I need to take, and you know, it does make business easier. I don't have to come up with the marketing. I don't need to know what kind of, you know, striper I need to go out, or what kind of paint. Where do I get the paint? It's really endless. It'd be hard for me to describe all the things that, you know, Jack Childs and Veteran Service Brands is really the umbrella that all these brands come from. You know, G-Force is the parking lot striping, but there's also, you know, 4 other brands that are out there, whether it's floors or working in an airport, and Field Ops is pretty cool too, where they're using a robot, an AI robot, to stripe, you know, a football field, and it's some pretty cool stuff. Right now, I've expanded from the parking lot to seal coating, and I'm just trying to get all those things right before I look forward and see what's next.
Great.
Yeah.
We do fantastic work. I looked at a lot of it online. I read some of the reviews, because you know it has to approve by Scott. It's going to be what you want. So great work.
Indiana, of course.
Google Rhode Island parking lot striping. This is your man, G-Force. Congratulations.
Joe Prew. Hey, thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.